Hey guys, this time on Movie Reviews, we're going to be looking at Knives Out. Knives Out was directed by Rian Johnson and stars Ana de Armas, Daniel Craig, Christopher Plummer, Michael Shannon, Jamie Lee Curtis, Toni Collette, and Chris Evans, among others, and is a good old-fashioned murder mystery whodunit, and follows the story of a world-class detective who is called in to investigate the death of a famous murder mystery novelist, and soon begins to suspect foul play as he begins to investigate this murder and the people around it. Guys, this is a movie that I've been really looking forward to. I'm a big fan of Rian Johnson's work in the past, and I just love a good old-fashioned murder mystery. I love movies such as Clue, the Agatha Christie movies, the books, all of that stuff. I just find it so interesting, and it's just a lot of fun to sit down and watch these types of movies and trying to figure out the mystery for yourself. And I think Rian Johnson loves that too, because I think this movie really showcases what we all love about these types of movies and really plays on those tropes in a nice and creative way. And also, the cast for this movie is absolutely amazing. You heard me name off all those cast members, and there's even a couple that I didn't get to mention right there. But this movie is filled to the brim with such great talent. I mean, this is probably the best ensemble for a movie I've seen this year, and they all do an excellent job. Rian Johnson does a great job in this movie of making these characters feel very distinct and different, and the actors are able to bring something to the table as well and really fill into these roles perfectly. Daniel Craig is absolutely fantastic as the southern drawl detective that is kind of like an American Poirot, as Rian Johnson has said in the past, and he is absolutely fantastic. He doesn't miss a beat in this film. And the rest of this cast is also really good, including Ana de Armas, who steals the show in this movie. She is absolutely incredible. I'm glad she's getting more work. She's a very great actress. If you haven't seen her before, she's in Blade Runner 2049. She was also great in that film. And she's just so good here, and I love the character, and I love the journey she goes on. And I also love the other actors in this movie too, such as Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Shannon, and of course Chris Evans, who does a very good job of just being this arrogant asshole throughout this entire movie. It is hilarious, and that's another thing I loved about this movie too, was its use of comedy. And this movie is surprisingly really funny, and I was entertained throughout it, and it was just such a breath of fresh air. I mean, have you ever watched a movie that you're like, I've seen this stuff before, but it's done in such a fresh way that it feels new again, and that's what this movie felt like. It felt like I was watching something new and fresh for the first time, even though it was dealing with stuff that has been done countless times before, but it's got a new voice, a new direction, and it's beautifully filmed as well. This is a beautiful looking film. I'm not sure if the same cinematographer that Rian Johnson usually works with worked on this film, but it really is very similar to a lot of his other movies in the way they look. This movie looks absolutely beautiful. Some of the shots are great, especially when he decides to slow things down and do slow motion. Like, there's this opening shot of the movie with the mansion in the background with these dogs running forward. It is absolutely gorgeous to look at, and the rest of this movie is honestly just on par with that. It is beautiful looking. I love the set in this movie, which is this just giant house, this giant mansion with all these kind of secret areas. It reminded me a lot of Clue, which I'm pretty sure everybody is going to be reminded of Clue. I think Rian Johnson, when making this movie, was like, I'm going to make a Clue movie, and he did it well. There's so much to like about this film, from its characters to its very witty writing to the mystery itself, which is very interesting and goes in directions I didn't suspect and gives you twists and turns you don't see coming. It's really fun. It's really fun to pick apart and figure out what's going on here, what's going on there, what does this mean, what's that mean. And the movie throws you through a loop sometimes by even giving you information that you don't think you should be getting just yet, but then it turns on itself and it's so entertaining. Now, I will say I did kind of figure out who did it by the middle of the film, but I will say that I didn't know how they did it or how they came about it, but I kind of figured out who it was along the way. But the mystery of it all was still kept secret. I didn't know any motives or anything, and it still kept it very interesting and very, very entertaining. As for negatives with the film, my only biggest gripe with the film is probably in the first act of the film, especially during the moments where we're getting introduced to kind of our cast of the film. There's these series of interviews that are interspliced together throughout the first act of the film that just feel very cold and off-putting and very different from the rest of the style of the film. It's done in much of a interview type setting, and I just really wasn't grasped. There wasn't like a hook right there. But as the movie went on, it got better and all that stuff was pushed to the side and just continued to be extremely entertaining. Also, maybe there are some hiccups with some of the dialogue every now and then, some jokes here or there not landing, some jokes really being reinforced over and over again, especially with Daniel Craig's character, but it was still a lot of fun because it's Daniel Craig and his delivery of it all was very convincing. Guys, Knives Out might not be anything particularly new that we haven't seen before, but the way it is done, the execution of it all, and the talent put behind the screen and in front of the screen really make this movie just an entertaining ride from beginning to end, with great, interesting characters, great performances, and just a lot of fun that reminds me of just the murder mysteries that I love watching and reminded me a lot of Clue, which is a very underrated film as well. I'm going to give Knives Out an 8 out of 10. Well guys, I want to thank you for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.